It's David Wowee, how you doing? Honkai Star Rail, Jade's light cones. Which ones are good and which ones are not so good? Can you get away without using Jade's signature light cone? I'll show you the kind of damage you can get with both her best free and gacha light cones. Keep watching, you might be surprised. Jade's specialty is doing two things. Buffing up a teammate to deal extra damage, while at the same time charging up so that she deals sweet damage against groups of enemies herself via a follow-up attack. Jade's best kit already gives her really good crit damage, so the light cones you want are light cones that improve her crit rate, attacks, and follow-up attacks. First light cone you might be thinking about is the free light cone, the 4-star light cone, the day the cosmos fell. At S5, this light cone increases Jade's attack by 24%. When she uses an attack and at least 2 attacked enemies have the corresponding weakness, her crit damage increases by 40% for 2 turns. Besides the decent attack buff, a leveled up Jade already comes with decent crit damage. Once again, what we want is to improve Jade's crit rate, not crit damage in particular. Also, if you still want the extra crit damage given by this light cone, you need to attack at least 2 enemies who are weak against quantum, so its benefits come with very specific conditions. So if I were you, I'd pick one of the following other light cones. You can get Day the Cosmos Fell for 200 Lucent Afterglow from the Forgotten Hole store. Don't forget to like and subscribe or donate or become a super member. I'm a small account going to big places. I like to do a lot of research for you for these vids, so your small help can make a huge difference. Thank you in advance, my friend. Another light cone you might be recommended is the 4-star light cone, the Seriousness of Breakfast, especially as it's another free light cone. What it does is, at S5, it increases Jade's damage by 24%. For every defeated enemy, Jade's attack increases by 8%, stacking up to 3 times. This is actually a pretty decent light cone if you're confident that Jade will defeat a whole group of enemies, especially in pure fiction, as her damage will increase the more enemies she beats. The drawback is that it only works if you defeat a number of enemies right away to take full advantage of it, and this may not always be the case for you. So if you're looking for a free light cone, you may want to consider the next one in this guide. If you're a completionist, you can get the Seriousness of Breakfast light cone as a to rot or to burn mission reward, as an emptiness of Locus Silenti mission reward, or from winning one of the Echoes of War. Another free and decent 5-star light cone you can get is Eternal Calculus. At S5, it increases Jade's attack by 12%. After using an attack, for each enemy target hit, it additionally increases her attack by 8%. This effect can stack 5 times and lasts until the next attack. Also, if there are 3 or more enemy targets hit, Jade's speed increases by 16%, lasting for 1 turn. This is a fantastic free light cone, as right from the get-go it increases Jade's attack while rewarding her with improved damage when she hits more enemies, and attacking multiple enemies is exactly what she's good at. The speed bonus is pretty decent too. Because the benefits of this light cone rely on you hitting multiple targets, this won't do so well in single enemy fights or fights with small numbers of opponents. It's best for events like pure fiction, which Jade is naturally built for. You can get Eternal Calculus from Herta's store for 8 Herta bonds, and you can upgrade it through superimposers. If you're into gacha light cones, a slightly stronger light cone you can get for Jade is the 4-star light cone Genius Repose. At S5, it increases Jade's attack by 32%. When she beats an enemy, Jade's crit damage increases by 48% for 3 turns. This gives Jade an important attack buff, but like the Seriousness of Breakfast light cone, its true strength depends on you having to defeat enemies. For a slight damage trade-off, I would still choose the free Eternal Calculus light cone. Also, as I said earlier, you'd probably want a light cone that focuses more on Jade's crit rate and not crit damage, as her base kit gives her a lot of crit damage already. On top of that, Genius Repose is a gacha light cone that you need to pull by luck through the game's current banners, so if you don't already have it, it may be difficult to get, especially if you want it at S5. A paid option for a decent light cone for Jade is Today is Another Peaceful Day. The effects of this light cone are interesting. After Jade enters battle, it increases her damage based on her max energy. This damage increases by 0.4% per point of energy up to 160 energy. At S5, this apparently means a 56% bonus for Jade. Sweet. Unfortunately, this Litecoin ain't for free players. You can choose this Litecoin as part of the paid battle pass, and you need 5 of them to get it to S5. So even if you pay for the battle pass every month, it'll take you a while to get 5 of these Litecoins. But if you're a free player or don't want to spend 5 months of battle passes to get Today's Another Peaceful Day to S5, Eternal Calculus is pretty decent. And if you're lucky, you can hopefully get this next Litecoin called Night on the Milky Way. Even at just S1, for every enemy in the field, this 5-star Litecoin will increase Jade's attack by 9% up to 5 stacks. When an enemy is inflicted with Weakness Break, the damage dealt by Jade increases by 30% for 1 turn. So this Litecoin does 2 things. It boosts Jade's attack by the number of enemies on the battlefield without you having to defeat them, and she does even more damage if your enemy is inflicted with Weakness Break. If you have Jade and are trying to smash through a pure fiction battle where there are hordes of enemies, this is the Litecoin to use. But before you get excited, this Litecoin is super dependent on the number of enemies in the battlefield and if the enemies are weak against any of your team's attacks. If you are in solo fights, you may want to switch this Litecoin with one of the others I've mentioned so far. You can get Night on the Milky Way by randomly pulling it from banners or by purchasing it for 600 Undying Starlights in the Starlight Exchange store. Last but not least, we have the obvious best contender, which is Jade's signature Litecoin, called Yet Hope is Priceless. But can we get away with using another Litecoin? We'll look at the numbers soon, but first, let's look at this Litecoin. Like every signature Litecoin, this Litecoin does everything we want a Litecoin to do for its wearer. In this case, our wearer is obviously Jade. Even at S1, the Yet Hope is Priceless Litecoin increases Jade's crit rate by 16% at S1, and while Jade is in battle, for every 20% crit damage that exceeds 120%, the damage dealt by a follow-up attack increases by 12%. This effect can stack up to 4 times. And that's not all. When the battle starts or after Jade uses her basic attack, it lets her ultimate or the damage dealt by a follow-up attacks to ignore 20%, lasting for 2 turns. Now let's look at this more closely. The crit rate boost this Litecoin gives is perfect for Jade, as when she's leveled up, her base kit already gives her great crit damage, which is why the second part of this Litecoin is good, as it significantly increases the damage of a follow-up attack, as it's assuming her crit damage is already quite high. But this Litecoin gets even better, as at battle start or after Jade uses her basic attack, which she'll use often, it allows her ultimate or follow-up attacks to ignore a percentage of your enemy's defenses with an incredible multiplier, making her follow-up attacks even stronger. If we're talking about pure damage percentage numbers, this Litecoin wins by a long shot, and I'll show you the numbers soon, but in all reality, you can still have a very capable Jade without busting out all your stellar Jades for a signature Litecoin. So next comes the biggest question: what is the damage difference between each Litecoin? If you don't want Jade's signature Litecoin, which one will serve you best? Luckily, the good folks at Prydwen.gg did the maths and calculated the damage each Litecoin can do. To make sense of these numbers you can see on the screen, the percentages you see on the left represent the damage each Litecoin in this table can do compared to the Seriousness of Breakfast. For example, if you look at the Litecoin above the Seriousness of Breakfast, Eternal Calculus, it says 100.91%. This means you can deal 0.91% more damage with Eternal Calculus compared to Seriousness of Breakfast. At the same time, if you look at the day the cosmos fell underneath it, which has 98.62%, this means you can do 1.38% or 100 minus 98.62 more damage with Seriousness of Breakfast than the day the cosmos fell. So if you look at the top of the list, Jade's signature Litecoin, Yet Hope is Priceless, only at S1, wins by a big margin and deals 22.85% more damage than the Seriousness of Breakfast already at S5, and deals about 10% more damage than the second highest Litecoin on this list, Night on the Milky Way, at S1. So what does this all mean? If you are a free player, your Jade could still do good damage with an S5 Eternal Calculus Litecoin. Sure, you'll be missing out on that sweet 22% extra damage from a signature Litecoin, but you can make up for it with better relics and better teams. Also, if you're deciding if you should use your stellar Jades to try and get Jade's E1 or a signature Litecoin instead, weigh the difference between the awesome teammate flexibility you'll get from an E1 and the damage bonus of the Litecoin. By the way, if you confuse what E1 and E0 and E2 means, check out my quick video on what it all means after this video. I've linked to it in the description. I would personally aim for Jade's E1. I have an Eidolon guide coming soon which explains why her E1 is so good, so like and subscribe to stay tuned. If you're a casual spender but don't want to spend so much money to try and pull for Jade's signature Litecoin, today is another peaceful day which you can get with the Battle Pass is a decent Litecoin, and if you're lucky with gacha pulls, Night on the Milky Way could be good, but remember, Night on the Milky Way is only useful for events like Pure Fiction that have mobs of enemies. The other top Litecoin, Genius Repose, is also decent if you already have it at S5, but if you don't, getting Genius Repose as a Litecoin is 100% dependent on your pull luck as you get it from gacha banners. So the next best Litecoin once again comes down to Eternal Calculus, a Litecoin that you can get for free through Simulated Universe. Like and subscribe to stay tuned for Jade's Eidolon guide and other Honkai content, and if you're feeling generous, donate a thanks or become a super member. If you want to chat Honkai and other games, check out my free Discord. We're a small but tight-knit group, so you won't have to worry about your messages getting lost in spam.